Welcome to Another Thing. I'm Larry Menti. The new unemployment rate is out, and it's dropped again as we created still more jobs. How long can we keep this up? And does that mean we're at full employment? We'll ask a job recruiter those questions in just a minute, but we begin our coverage with Ellen Kolodziej. Ellen.
Thank you, Larry. When the recession ended in 2009, the unemployment rate peaked at about 10%. Now it's at 4.3%, the lowest it's been in 16 years. But some economists say job creation has hit a speed bump and we're almost at full employment. And that's not always a good thing.
We're going to create jobs. I said that I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created. And I mean that. I'm going to work very hard on that.
In January, President-elect Trump vowed he would get more Americans back to work. So when the latest unemployment numbers came out, his administration went into bragging mode.
We're clearly bringing people back in the job force. That said, look, we want to continue to grow the job force, and the president's talked about that.
The official number of Americans out of work stands at 4.3%, or almost what's called full employment. That means almost everyone looking for a job can basically find some kind of work. Experts say that's positive, but there is a downfall.
On the other hand, if you're a businessman or an entrepreneur and you have to hire somebody, well, then it's a more challenging phenomenon. It's harder to get the next guy to come and work for you, and you may have to pay them more than you might like. So, nonetheless, that's what we hope for in an economy, that people who want to work can work.
Dick Voith worked for the Pennsylvania Federal Reserve Bank for 14 years and is now president of eConsult Solutions. He says one reason for the low jobless rate could be some workers have stopped looking for work, but he says that's not the main reason.
People are leaving the labor forces because they're getting old, and baby boomers are getting older, and it's time for them to retire, and they're not being replaced in the labor force fast enough.
Other experts say the low unemployment numbers don't tell the whole story, and that we're not adding jobs fast enough. 138,000 jobs were created in May. That's down from economists' prediction of 185,000. And in the past 3 months, job growth has averaged just 121,000. That's why economists such as Eric Winograd from AllianceBernstein calls this report soft in every aspect relative to expectations. That's a disappointment, he says.
138,000 net new jobs. For President Trump to make his promise of 25 million jobs over 10 years, he's going to have to see almost twice that, more than 200,000 jobs every single month.
Now, despite some gloomy reports, President Trump insists that his administration will help the economy create thousands of new jobs every month. And he says things will be even better now that he's killed the Paris Accord, which he calls a jobs killer. Reporting for Another Thing, I'm Ellen Kolodziej.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Let's take a deeper dive even into those numbers with Anna Santucci-Braun, who is a financial analyst and owner of Express Employment Professionals in Howell, New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
These new job numbers, and I know that you want to look at an improvement in an economy over several months, not just 1 month. But these new job numbers were interesting because you had some heavyweight financial analysts on both sides saying, oh, these are great numbers, we're at full employment, and then you have other people saying, oh, those numbers are disappointing. Where do you come down?
I would approach it from the perspective that when you are at the historical high or historical low of any financial data, you will have these abnormal readings, right? When numbers change ever so slightly, they don't necessarily tell us whether the market is improving or is worsening. What we do know is that we have been at the all-time lows or very long-term historical lows of unemployment rates since 2001. Yeah. And some economists bring up that they're very low even compared to 30 years, 20 years ago data. What we're seeing right now is that these fluctuations, these small fluctuations of new job creation, unemployment, all they're showing to us is that we're having the workplaces ready. People are ready and able to hire new employees, but there's not enough workforce to go around. So
wait, no, let's just deal with that point for a second.
Right.
You say there's not enough workforce to go around, and yet the numbers show that fewer people are participating in the workforce, that they've given up in finding work. And there's a lot of people that look at the number of 4.3% and say, well, that's not the real number. You should look at the U6 number that shows that 8.6% are either underemployed or can't find work. That's the real number.
I'm going to have to agree with that 4% anything is not really a real number. There are a certain amount of people that are underemployed. There are a certain amount of people that gave up looking for work. However, I have to say, and again, that comes from empirical experience of working here in Monmouth and Ocean County, that pretty much any person with skills that are desirable, if they're willing to accept a job offer that is complementary to their skills and experience, they probably will find employment. Now, if people have certain reasons not to participate in the workforce, whether they're health reasons, whether they're receiving a lot of, well, government support and it's not worth it for them to take a step back, government support's giving them more money.
You seem to be saying that people that aren't working just don't want to work.
Not all.
Or can't work.
That would not be fair to say that, no. There are different situations, there are individual situations. But 4%, just think about this, 4 out of 100 people can't find a job. Yes, a couple of people cannot find a job due to health or other issues. But we do find that most people that come in with marketable skills we are able to find a job.
One thing we haven't dealt with that was in the new numbers is that wages haven't gone up. And so you have this growth in employment over the last year, and certainly over the last 4 months, of almost 1 million jobs, if you take it month to month to month. And yet wages this last month didn't go up.
Pay rates don't just jump on a month-to-month basis, but we see a very smooth and very actually rapid, from economic perspective, increase in pay rates. If you think about this, 20% increase in pay rates is very significant over a course of a year or year and a half.
And I will tell you this, the Federal Reserve agrees with you because they say they see enough economic indicators that they believe wages will go up, and because of that, they're going to raise interest rates to try to keep inflation down because they expect more money in the workplace. So they're seeing something.
They're seeing something, and again, they probably have different sources of data that they can collect. I do want to tell you that I find, and not just me, but all the other franchises of Express Employment Professionals, we have almost 800 offices across U.S. and Canada. I have seen it from many, many other owners, somewhere in business 35 years, that have never seen the workforce shortage like that we're experiencing right now. Everywhere, from coast to coast, Midwest, there's a work shortage.
When you say shortage, it means they can't find enough people to work.
There's not enough employees for any given job. It's unbelievable, but that's the case.
Well, that's good news, right? That's good news, maybe not for your business, but it's good news for the American economy.
Well, yes and no, because if you have a business that needs employees and employees are simply not there, there's two ways to go about this, right? Either you could continue increasing the pay rates, but then that means that you're actually taking employees from some other job, right? So some other business is losing the jobs. Or if you can't find anybody, then you simply can't grow, and you're going to have to either shut down or go overseas, which we don't want. So eventually such a shortage is not really healthy for the economy.
Is the shortage because of the fact that people aren't being trained for the jobs that are open?
That's a fantastic question, actually. The skills gap has been widening in the last, I'm going to say 10 years. As of right now, we see a very significant shift of every employer saying, I'll take people, kids out of college, just graduate, I'll train you everything, just come, stick around with me.
And also, there's more technological needs. One of the areas that dropped in the jobs report by over 6,000 jobs was retail, because department stores are closing up.
That's right.
And yet they're selling online, so they need people that know how to code, they need software engineers.
They need customer service, they need people, they need live people on the phone. We're so used to saying, oh, everything's online, we don't really need live people. But if you think about this ability to pick up the phone and say, hey, there's a problem with my order, right? And then the person on the other line actually speaking good English and being able to deal with your problem and maybe upsell you a little bit. That's really a lifeblood of many online businesses. So there's a huge, huge, huge demand for people with not a lot of skills, but just great customer service. So we find a lot of jobs for people from retail that would have lost a job otherwise, but if they have great customer service skills, great telephone service, online companies are so willing to just train them and do whatever it is.
Well, I have to tell you, I feel good about what you're saying because it shows that the economy is growing, but you're talking about that for every silver lining, there's a dark cloud.
That's exactly. In economy, everything's the same. Whenever there's a shortage, prices are rising, but then eventually, at some point, the economy is not able to sustain that rise in prices. So I hope that we will be able to kind of go through that shock without a big boom and crash like we had in 2008. I don't think it's a bubble necessarily. But I do think that a lot of businesses at some point will have to be looking at their books and saying, hey, I was able to pay $12 an hour for somebody who's picking up the phone doing customer service. Right now it's hard for me to find somebody like that to train at $15 an hour. Well, how much money am I really making?
Well, it's the first time I've heard about an employment shortage. That's fascinating.
Let's talk more.
Not now, but we will have you back. Anna Santucci-Braun, financial analyst and owner of Express Employment Professionals in Howell, New Jersey. When we come back, hurricane season just started. So what is the forecast? We'll talk about that when Another Thing continues.